Case File 96, the Crescent Hotel. 1:45 a.m., the dogs stopped barking, and a silence that had teeth moved into the hallway. This is the last recorded entry. The archive does not explain. It only records. 1:45 a.m. The dogs stopped barking. Not gradually. One moment, sound. The next, a silence that had teeth. 17 degrees. 3 seconds. The door to the service apartment was locked from the inside. There was no key in the lock. There was no door anymore. This case file has no closing entry. Do you want to know why? The Crescent Hotel opened in 1886. White limestone, wrought iron balconies, a palace for the rich who were terrified of dying. But the architect, Isaac Taylor, did not build it for guests. He built it for something that needed walls, something that needed silence, something that needed to be fed. On opening night, Taylor stood in the grand lobby and said, "This is not a hotel. This is a receipt." He died the next morning. Heart failure. His eyes were open. His mouth frozen in a smile. They never found his will. To understand why this file remains open, you have to look at the limestone walls of the hotel itself. Isaac Taylor didn't build them for people. I came to the Crescent with 3 colleagues. A corporate training assignment. 10 days. The company booked us service apartments on the 3rd floor. Not hotel rooms. Apartments. Kitchens. Balconies. Doors that locked from both sides. My colleagues, Adira, Marcus, and Sasha. Adira wore a red thread around her wrist. A blessing from a priest. She never explained why. Marcus laughed too loud. Sasha checked locks twice. The moment I stepped into apartment 3B, the air was wrong. Not stale. Occupied. I told myself it was jet lag. I was lying. The first 5 nights were silent. On the 6th night, Adira bought sweets from a bakery near the hotel. A box of rasgulla. She brought it to my apartment at 11 p.m. The moment she crossed the threshold, the temperature dropped. Not a draft. A descent. I felt it in my chest. A pressure. As if something had just taken a breath after holding it for a century. Marcus opened the lid. The sweets were fresh. Warm. But the smell was not sugar. It was iron. Wet earth. Old rot. No one else noticed. They ate. I watched. And behind Adira, in the corner where no light reached, something moved. Not a shadow. A shape. A shape that had been standing there for a very long time, waiting for someone to notice it. I did not sleep that night. At 1:45 a.m., the dogs outside the hotel began to howl. Not bark. Howl. The sound animals make when they see what humans are not meant to see. I stood on my balcony. Below, at the edge of the tree line, a man stood beneath an old oak tree. He did not move. He did not blink. His face was gone. Not hidden. Gone. Melted. Burned. A mask of scar tissue stretched over a skull that should not have been able to smile. He smiled. I ran inside, locked the balcony door. When I looked through the glass again, he was standing 3 inches from it. His breath fogged the glass. His eyes were the color of burning coal. Not orange. Red. The red of something that has been burning underground for a very long time. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, he was gone. But the fog on the glass did not fade, and in the condensation, someone had written 4 words. "You forgot to lock it." 3 silent nights. I almost convinced myself I had imagined it. Then Sasha called my phone at 1:30 a.m. "Eli, something is in Adira's apartment." We stood outside her door. From inside we heard 2 voices. One was Adira's. The other was not a voice. It was a vibration. A frequency that made my teeth ache. Adira was laughing. Not her laugh. Older. Thinner. A laugh that had not been used since the hotel opened. Marcus knocked. "Adira." Opened the door. The laughter stopped. Silence. Then something heavy slammed against the door from the inside. Once. Twice. 3 times. I looked through the peephole. Adira was standing on the ceiling. Naked. Her head twisted 180 degrees. Her mouth was open too wide. Too wide. And she was walking. Upside down. Walking toward the door. I pulled back. Marcus looked. He saw the same thing. Sasha looked. She saw Adira sleeping in her bed, perfectly still. The same door. The same peephole. 3 different truths. That is when I understood. The thing in the Crescent did not live in the walls. It lived in perception. It showed each of us what would break us most. Marcus saw horror because he was afraid of it. Sasha saw nothing because she refused to believe. I saw the truth because I had already been marked. The next morning, Adira remembered nothing. She was tired. Weak. A fever burned behind her eyes. She said her head felt heavy, like someone was sitting on her chest. We drove to a priest in Berryville. He took one look at her red thread and said, "That thread is the only reason she is still speaking. The thing had attached to her at the bakery. Not for her specifically. For anyone with an open door. And Adira's door was open. Not her apartment door. Her spirit door. A crack she did not know existed. The priest said, "There is a man in Eureka Springs. He does not perform exorcisms. He performs evictions. But he cannot help you. Why not? Because the thing you are dealing with is not inside her. It's already in the room with you. And it's already picked who it's taking home." The specialist came at midnight. Old. Hands shaking. But when he walked into the hallway of the 3rd floor, he stopped shaking. "It's not in the apartment anymore," he said. "It's in one of you." We stood in a circle. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, he was looking at Marcus. "3 nights ago, you walked to the cemetery behind the hotel. Do you remember?" Marcus laughed. "I've never. You walked to the cemetery. You sat beneath the oak tree. And you ate. Do you remember what you ate?" Marcus stopped laughing. His face went gray. "I was hungry," he whispered. "I didn't know why. I just woke up outside. My clothes were wet. My mouth tasted like..." He stopped. "Like what?" Marcus looked at his hands. Dirt under his fingernails. And something else. Something dark. Something that had been wet recently. "Like feathers," he said. "Blood. Warm. Moving." The specialist stepped back. "It's not in her anymore. It's in him. It never wanted her. It wanted the one who would take it home." We drove 3 hours to a shrine. Ground blessed a century ago. The specialist said it was the only place where the thing could be removed. Marcus sat in the back seat. He did not speak. His eyes were the color of shallow water over broken glass. Every few minutes, his head would twitch. Not a tick. A response. As if someone was whispering in his ear, and he was trying not to laugh. At 2 a.m., we stopped at a gas station. Marcus refused to get out. When I opened his door, he looked at me. His mouth moved. But the voice that came out was not his. "You prayed every night," it said, "to a God you do not fully believe in. Do you know why that worked? Not because he is real. Because you are afraid of the silence when he does not answer." I stepped back. "She wore a thread," it said, nodding toward Adira. "A thread. Do you think a thread stops hunger? It only delays it. And now I am in him. And he will take me everywhere you go," Marcus smiled. His teeth were black at the gums. The shrine was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that has been waiting for something. The specialist drew a circle in the dirt. He placed Marcus in the center. He told us not to move. No matter what we saw. No matter what we heard. At 3 a.m., the temperature dropped. The air smelled of iron and old flowers, and something rotting beneath floorboards. Marcus opened his mouth. A sound came out. Not a scream. A frequency that made the dirt around him rise into the air. Then the thing spoke. Not through Marcus. Through the air itself. "I was here before the hotel. Before the town. Before the ground was blessed. I was in the soil. In the trees. In the hunger of every animal that starved in this valley. You cannot send me away. I am the ground you stand on." The specialist poured oil. Lit candles. Spoke words that made my ears ring. And then the thing laughed. "You think this circle holds me? It only holds him." Marcus's body convulsed. His arms bent backward at the elbow. His mouth opened wider than a jaw should open. And from that darkness, a shape began to emerge. Not smoke. Not shadow. Something solid. Something that had been digesting inside him for days. The specialist screamed one word. I did not understand it. But the thing did. It stopped. It turned. And for the first time, it looked afraid. The ritual lasted until dawn. Marcus was unconscious. The thing was gone. Not destroyed. Relocated. Buried again, beneath the oak tree where it had first awakened. But the specialist pulled me aside before we left. It is not gone. It is dormant. And it remembers every face it saw. Every name it heard. You prayed. That kept it out of you. But prayer is not a wall. It is a delay. He handed me a small bag of salt. When you wake at 3 a.m. and the room is cold, do not open your eyes. Do not speak its name. Pour this salt across your threshold and do not leave until sunrise. And if I leave, he walked back into the shrine and closed the door. That was 3 years ago. Marcus recovered. He remembers nothing. He moved to another state. He never calls. Adira married. She still wears the red thread. She will not say why. Sasha refuses to talk. She says we imagined everything. Last week, I woke up at 3 a.m. The room was cold. Not a draft. A descent. And from the hallway, I heard it. Not silk this time. Something worse. Feathers. Dragging across the floor. I am writing this in a motel 60 miles from Eureka Springs. The salt is on the threshold. The door is locked. But I know it is waiting. It has always been waiting. And tonight, I will go back. This was the first time the file mentioned the lock. It wouldn't be the last. This is not a ghost story. It is a feeding schedule. A hunger that does not need a body. A debt that comes due not when you die, but when you stop believing that some places remember your name the moment you arrive. The thing in the Crescent does not want revenge. It does not want justice. It wants to be carried. And it has decided that you, listening to this, will do just fine. Because you spoke its name tonight. You heard its story. In the world of the forgotten, to be heard is to be invited. So listen closely. If you ever stay in a hotel that feels older than the town around it, if you hear movement where there is no movement, if you wake at 3 a.m. and the cold has teeth, do not look under the bed. Do not check the bathroom. Check out. Drive until dawn. And never speak the name of the room, because some guests are not allowed to leave. If you have a story that haunts you, send it to contact.thedreadcodex@gmail.com. Your truth becomes our tale. Your likes and comments keep these stories from being forgotten. Until next time, may your doors stay locked. May your dead stay buried. Good night.